So we have another dumbest bill in America. We have with us Brian Chisholm again, and this bill is House Bill 6 in the state of Maryland, taxing by drone. So look, this is Delegate Fair's bill, F-A-I-R, like the county fair. He's from what, Montgomery County, Brian? I think he's from Montgomery County.
I think he's from Howard County.
Is he from Howard? So Howard or Montgomery, very similar counties in terms of their political makeup in many ways. So get this. The Democrats want to have a drone flown over your house if they can't see everything from Google Earth, which they might not be able to because maybe you're going to hide it or whatever. They want to send a drone over your house so that they can look at what's there every single year to do what, Brian?
They want to know if you added anything to your house, if you put it on an extra hose spigot, whatever they can find, they're going to come after you for. And they tell you that it's because we want a more accurate assessment, which equates to a higher assessment, so they can hide behind and say, we didn't raise your taxes, your tax rate stayed the same, but voila, your assessment went up $200,000.
So isn't it true that the State Department of Assessments and Taxation in Maryland, they assess your house every 3 years, and then, which they do, then they send you a bill and say, hey, your house is worth more. As a result of it being worth more, you owe more taxes. And they phase that in over 3 years, the increase of your taxes, your property taxes. This bill, while it still is an assessment of every 3 years, they want to know what you're doing every year. So they can maybe retroactively, of course, say, well, this was 3 years ago and you added this shed and then you added the water spigot. And then after that, you added a pier, and then, go ahead.
And the thing that worries me about this is we're not very good at keeping information secure. So now I can see it. All the environmentalists are going to say, well, look, they live on the water. Look at all these trees that aren't there that were there before. We should be able to go there and find them, and we'll make the money on the tax side, but we will also make more money when we find them for doing something illegal like, adding a dog walk or something crazy like that.
So one of the reasons we do the dumbest bill is not just to show you how stupid these bills are, but also how out of control government is. And we do dumbest bills across America, not just Annapolis, but because we're in session, most of our bills so far have been about Annapolis so far this year. So get this. So right now, if you have a white picket fence surrounding your house, right? And and then in front of that you have tall hedges because you really like your privacy. You really want your privacy, Brian. And you just like to have privacy in your backyard. Maybe you have a swimming pool. Maybe you don't. You just like to, hang out there in the back on the lounge chair and get a tan. Well, the State Department of Assessments and Taxation is saying, well, you don't have that right. We're going to still send a drone over, and we're not going to really take a picture of you while you're back there, just all of your property, but you might be back there at the same time. If I did this to my neighbor and sent a drone over, that probably wouldn't be legal. I'm sure.
Right. And it is very Orwellian, and it feels like you must come kiss the ring before you do anything on your property, so we want to see this. And that's where, the thing that makes this country great is private property ownership.
Yes.
We were one of the first countries that ever allow somebody to have private property. It is the American dream. So now we're saying we're going to quash that American dream. You don't really own your home. We're going to take pictures, and you're never going to get out of it through the tax system anyway. So it's like, what can we do without coming back to the government and say, can we please put up a picket fence?
So here's the other thing too. You buy your house, right? You pay property taxes every year. And then in 10 years, after you've owned your home for 10 years, you realize, wow, my property taxes have increased by 30% or 40%. This just doesn't seem sustainable. And then the Democrats just don't care in Annapolis. They put a bill in like this and it's like, well, we're not getting enough from you because we think you're hiding some of your property. And so we want to make sure that we grab as much of your income as we can. So this raises the question. I want everyone out there to listen to this. Here's the question. At what point do you own your home? At what point do you actually own it? Let's just say it took you 30 years to pay it off and your property taxes have quadrupled over those 30 years. Well, then you really don't own your home, do you?
No. And I think the thing that's really sinister to me, and we see this with a lot of bills, is they're put in by people, and I shouldn't make this assumption, but I'm pretty sure that Delegate Fair doesn't own his own property. So a lot of times these things are done out of just jealousy, I guess. That's why we have so many people on the floor put in bills about children, but they don't have their own children because they don't have that experience. So they say, well, we don't have a house, or I don't own my own house, so I'm going to make your experience of owning a house even more uncomfortable.
So House Bill 6 from Delegate Fair, it's about putting a drone over your house in the event that the GIS system doesn't work properly, or they can't see everything, or Google Earth, they use that and they can't see everything. But really, what the bill is about is extracting as much tax revenue from you as they can. Because in Annapolis, there's never enough money that the Democrat Party can take from you to continue to fund their priorities, which basically means to pay off their voters, which is really what this is about.
It's about surveillance, power, and money. That's what it's always about.
It is. And so final thoughts about House Bill 6, about the dumbest bill in America.
I don't know why we really need to do this. We could just ask the Chinese for all the images that they took of our houses and make an assessment from there.
Well, and that's the dumbest bill in America, House Bill 6, drones over your property.